Our following speaker is actually from England. Lucas Farthing is a young man, but he has plenty of experience utilizing sports as a tool for cultural understanding and social change. He has been involved in innovative projects in the UK and many other countries in Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and different parts of Africa. He's currently finalizing his master's studies at King College in University of London. So let's welcome Lucas to the stage.
Hello, moi, mitä kuuluu. That's as far as my Finnish goes. Yeah, so that's me up there, and that's Regent's Park in London. That's not the Balkans. But the message, love football, hate racism, stays true no matter where you are in the world. I'm currently in between my master's studies. I'm studying conflict resolution at King's College, and I'm really interested in the role of sport in conflict resolution and post-conflict societies. My mother is from Bosnia, Sarajevo specifically, which experienced some of the worst ethnic violence in Europe since the Second World War in the 90s. And I led a tour in 2013 to the Balkans. I just want to do a little story because Maria touched on it earlier, and I just want to say everybody that's spoken has been amazing. I'm really wowed away, and it's an absolute honour to be able to speak here, really. But when I was 15, all I did was play football and rugby. That was my life, was football and rugby. And I broke my collarbone really badly, and I tore all the ligaments in my left shoulder. And a big operation, no rugby for a year, no football, which was my sport, for 7 months. And all of a sudden, I think Maria said, sport teaches you to get knocked down and get back up again. And that's exactly what it did for me. I didn't care about school when I was 15, but I was never good enough to be a professional footballer. Probably not as good as you guys are here. But it got me on track, and it got me to really focus on my studies and get a place at university in London. And then I was lucky enough to meet this man, Tommy Lunia, over in London. We studied at the same university. And I got involved with an organisation called Football Beyond Borders. It uses football to break down barriers and social prejudice, and there's a lot of barriers in society, be it wealth, be it race, be it social status, and I really enjoyed this. And as a 19-year-old kid, you kind of need something to get your teeth into, and football and using football in a positive way, doing something I loved, was something I really enjoyed. So I went on a tour to the Middle East, and then I did some mentoring work in London. And then to Brazil and more mentoring work in London. I was asked to lead a project. So I thought the Balkans was a perfect area because people forget about the lovely old Balkans. The Balkans went through an awful conflict, and I love maps, so I'm going to show you a map, because people forget that, the former Yugoslavia is actually just next to Italy. It's in Europe. It's on our doorstep. And everybody forgets about it. It's really hard to talk about. I've written a dissertation on Bosnia, and I still don't understand the war, so I'm not going to try and explain it to you. But in a nutshell, that used to be Yugoslavia, and now it's those countries there. It's really hard to explain. You had Serbia expanding to the west, and Croatia expanding to the east, and Bosnia was stuck in the middle. That's it in a serious nutshell. If you want to go read, I can give you loads of authors, because that's another topic. That is Bosnia today. Now, just look at it. That's one country with a borderline. So what happened in the war effectively was you had Serb aggression and Croat response and Muslim response. There are 3 ethnic groups. I'm going to use the term Croat, Serb, and Muslim. They're all Bosnian, but they're 3 ethnic groups. The war is famous for the genocide. 8,000 Muslim men and boys lost their lives to Serb perpetrators in the West, and also the term in the East, sorry, and also the term ethnic cleansing. Really depressing note. I'm moving on. So this is what happened in Bosnia: was you had mass population transfers, and you have Republika Srpska, which is majority Serb, and the Federation of Bosnia-Herzegovina, which is Muslim and Croat and a few Serbs. There are also Muslims in Republika Srpska. that is the build-up. Now imagine having Helsinki and Oulu as two separate entities but within the same state. It doesn't work. The system doesn't work. The people remain inherently divided. Unemployment figures in the latest census, 40%. Youth unemployment, 60%. You know, serious issues in this country. So I thought, okay, I've done my undergraduate dissertation. This is where my family is from. You know, I've got an interest in this region. Let's lead a football tour here, because I really saw football as a way to bring people together, you know, to break down social barriers. Just as an example, that's a high school in Mostar. Same school, one fence, basically. You've got a Muslim school on the left and the Croat school on the right. Exactly the same school. Two different education systems, and they just literally put a wall in the middle of it after the war. That's just as an example. And on this note, I'm sorry, adults, but I'm going to talk to the youth here, because you guys are the ones who are going to be able to use sport to change the world, to mould the world that you will live in, my kids will live in, I'm living in. But you guys are the future. And so I really want to address this talk to you. So let's get back to a positive note. Football, right? I love football, okay? I'm a Liverpool fan, massive Liverpool fan. I play it, had a knee injury, so I'm not playing at the moment, but I love football. But there are two sides to sport, and it's important to recognise this one. Because that was at a football match I went to in Serbia. You know, there's serious aggression, and there's serious hatred, and there's serious violence in this part of the world, and in other parts of the world. My dislike for Manchester United is unparalleled to this. This is a reality of sport, and that cannot be ignored. I think it's really important to address it. Sport has a serious positive side, though, as well. And that's this. That is one of the projects we ran in Mostar. That's a Muslim boy on the left and a Croat boy on the right. They're shaking hands before a penalty shootout. You know, these are two kids who have absolutely no interaction. Their parents probably fought in the war. They probably actually despise each other simply because of their ethnicity. But football and sport in general has the power, and I really believe it has the power to bring them together. And this was sort of the premise for our work in Bosnia, was organising football tournaments, and football was the medium, obviously, not sport, but just football, because I love it. But it was to bring people together onto the pitch, but then you thought, okay, well, it's one thing getting them on a football pitch, but what's next? And Maria said earlier as well, it's so important for a next step, and that's what we found the most challenging. You know, I just want to talk about our experiences, really, was how do you go next? What do you do? You know, the kids, the under 14s, they want to play football, but are they interested? So things like this are amazing, these workshops, and that's what we really try to initiate, were hands-on seminars and workshops, working with young people, but also listening to local NGOs. I found was really important, was because they have a route into the community. I mean, we were 15 university students who decided to go to the Balkans, but local NGOs actually had a route into the community, and they were our way to really try and contact people through after football matches in a way to say, look, like, why can't you go on, move on? You know, there's no need for racism, for discrimination. You know, yes, there were the horrors of the war, but this is your parents' generation. Did it work? I mean, it's hard to say. I've had contact with the NGOs we work with out there, and there's been positive impact, but I like to think we did something. I think we did more in Bosnia. We went to Serbia as well, and that was really hard, because trying to work with local organisations, and it was very much, well, you know, this was a year after the England under-21s game. And so we basically just turned up at football matches, pre-organised football games, and we're like, look, if you'll let us, we'll do an organised workshop with your kids, which we did, and it was, again, based around the sort of anti-racist, anti-discrimination premise, which I think sport has a golden opportunity to give. Now, I guess the important thing is, you know, what do we learn? What can we take from this? So this is one of the football tournaments we organise. I think, as I said before, the local is really important. You know, being from England, you often get a lot of, you know, there's the global language. It's we're dominating the world. You know, it's blah blah blah, and it's true. But if you go abroad and you want to work abroad, listen to what people have to say in that country. I think that's so important. I think that's massive respect to every single project here, because everyone I've spoken to about the work they've done is what were local people saying. And also, at the end of the day, local NGOs that we work with are going to do more work than we could have done in the time we were there. And that's just a fact of the situation, because they live and work in Bosnia and Serbia. I've got some little notes here which I'm going to have to go to. But yeah, sport's a platform, it's a medium, but it doesn't finish the job. You know, there needs to be a plan for afterwards. Okay, we love sport, but what comes next, you know? And that's where, as I said before, things like this, but also young brains. You know, you guys come up with clever things than us. I still don't really understand the hashtag culture and all of that jazz, and I'm part of it. But you know, you guys have the ideas and what to do. This is another one. Oh no, where's it gone? No, there we go. So that's in my mum's hometown in Sarajevo. That was another thing we found, was if you take the competitive nature out of sport, it really becomes quite a beautiful game, which it should be. So I guess I want to finish, and this is a sport specifically in post-conflict, but I think what I'm trying to say really is that I really see sport as a foundation and as a fundamental building block for youth engagement in societies. And I see sport as a way that, in a way, we can use it, and young people can use it to manipulate change and manipulate sort of the way people are understanding not only post-conflict societies and within post-conflict societies, which is my focus, but also your own society. It's a way to break down barriers with people you may not speak to, marginalised people on the fringes. But sport's not the end. Sport's not the answer. Sport is the start and the beginning. Sport is the medium. And yeah, I really see that as the golden ticket, if you will, to a better world. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.